Hi everyone, it's Carlin here at May Blossom Design, and it's glaze long. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I got some glaze in the mail the other day, and of course, it had Amaryllis in it, which, as I've mentioned many times before, Amaryllis is one of my absolute favorite glazes. So I thought this glaze along, I would just give you a few different combos that I really like with Amaryllis. And maybe a couple testers, a couple different things to just try to switch it up. So I'm going to show you a couple tried and trues, and then I think what I'm going to do is maybe do some like little trinket dishes with different combos that I've never tried before to see what it looks like. But yeah, let's get glazing with started. So the first combo that we're going to do involves Flux Blossom, Amico's Flux Blossom, and of course, Amaryllis, which is going to be the star of the show. So I'm doing it on a cup this time, but you can do it on basically whatever you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Flux Blossom first. And you want to do 3 coats of the Flux Blossom. And I'm going to do the inside in Flux Blossom as well. So I'm going to do the outside because I'm not going all the way to the bottom with this combo. So I'm going to go to about here. I'm not worried about keeping it in a straight line. Just that there's even coverage. And then by the time you do that, then you can go on the inside and start your second coat. And don't forget your rims. And you basically can go in and do your third coat now. If you want to wait till it's a little bit more dry, you can. I'm going to go ahead and do it. My studio is pretty warm, so it's going to dry pretty quick regardless whether I wait or not. So I'm going to go ahead and put my third coat on. And I've mentioned this before, I'm not, I don't want to call myself like cheap with glaze, but I'd rather put on more coats than too thick. It's harder to take it off than it is to put it on. So I'm just very mindful on how much I guess yeah, that's the word I guess I'm looking for, is that I'm quite mindful on how I put glaze on. Um, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I just don't let my brush ever really run out of glaze. And again, don't forget your rim. Okay, perfect. So that is 3 coats of Flux Blossom. As soon as this is dry, I'll come right back and we will put on the Amaryllis and I'll show you how I do that part. Okay, so this is dry enough. So now I'm going to put the Amaryllis on. Now, there's nothing special to this. The only thing is that I'm going to do probably at least a ½ an inch of an overlap. And then I'll show you what else I do after that. So yeah, I'm going to do at least a ½ an inch overlap of the Amaryllis. And if you've used Amaryllis before, lots of times you need to keep stirring it to keep the chunks kind of even throughout. This is the bottom of this one, so my guess is these cups are going to be, they're going to have a lot of different little speckly pieces because, well, it's the bottom. So as long as this is dry enough, then I just turn it over and we just start applying. Now, Amaryllis is also a really stable glaze, so you can put it quite close to the bottom. I don't ever go right to the bottom, like touching the kiln shelves with any glaze. Doesn't matter if it's stable or not. I don't, because I just don't like to take that risk. Okay, so once this is dry, you're going to want to go ahead and put on at least another coat, if not 3 coats. What I'm probably going to do is, because this is so chunky, I probably am going to mix it with my new thing of Amaryllis, because this is quite chunky. So I'll probably put my second coat on and then mix it with the new batch that's a little bit not as chunky for the third coat. But yeah, so I'm going to let this dry. We'll put on a second coat and a third coat, and then yeah, I'll show you the very last step. Okay, so I think because this is so chunky, I'm only going to do 2 coats. Normally I would put 3, but because it is so chunky, we're just going to go with 2 coats on this one. So as soon as this is dry, I'll bring you back for the final step and I'll show you exactly what I do to finish this combo. Okay, so this is the last step of the Flux Blossom Amaryllis combo. So what you want to do is just take your Flux Blossom, and now that this is good and dry, I just like to go and just do a little overlap where the overlap meets, if that makes sense, like just right there. And not a lot, just a little globby gloop kind of. Doesn't have to be even, doesn't have to be perfect, just a little bit on top so that you really get a little bit more movement right in this area. So just like that. And then this one's done. Again, super simple combo, very easy, but really reliable and beautiful. Okay, so the next combo that we're going to do with Amaryllis is we're going to use Pearl White and Amaryllis. Now, again, we're going to do, it's going to look similar to the one that we just did with the Flux Blossom, but it's going to have a totally different vibe because of what Pearl White does to Amaryllis. So yeah, we're going to start with Pearl White. Again, we're going to do it on the same type of cup. And we're going to do the inside Pearl White and the top half just like we did with the Flux Blossom. So it'll be exactly the same. And because it is Spectrum Glaze, we're going to use 2 coats of Pearl White on this piece. So let me get those on and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so again, just like with the Flux Blossom, I'm not going to really worry too much about my line. I don't care if it's even. I don't care if it's straight. I just want it. I just need a line, but I don't want to go too far because when you put it on, after it's come out of the kiln, you'll see why. You don't want to go too far. You just want nice even coverage. And like always, don't forget your rims. So the Pearl White is dry enough now. So now what we'll do, just like again with the Flux Blossom, you want to put it on. Now I did open a new jar because the other jar was just a bit too chunky, and now this one doesn't have many chunks at all. Have to really, 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 really stir Amaryllis, and you have to continue stirring it as you're using it. Otherwise, all of your pieces will just sink to the bottom. I don't mind that with the first coat, but the second and probably third coat, you definitely want to have um, more chunks. One, I want to do about same as the Flux Blossom, about a half an inch overlap. The farther up you go, the more blending you're going to get, but the more running you're also going to get. And I've mentioned in previous videos and in this video that um, Pearl White is a runner, so you really have to be careful when you're using it with things, and certain things will run more than others. So let that dry for a minute. I'm going to continue stirring this, and then we'll put on the second coat. And because this is not as chunky, you are going to want 3 coats. You can also, I don't like to do it because it kind of wrecks your brushes, but you can just dip way down into your bucket. But like I said, I don't particularly like doing that. But because this is not giving me any chunks, I kind of don't really have a choice. There. I have a few chunks on this one. I am going to do 3 coats. I'm going to try to get a few more chunks. Yes, so I'm going to let this dry fully. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a 3rd coat on. I'm going to stick the 3rd coat on here. And honestly, that's it. That's it for this combo. It is super easy and super reliable. And as soon as it comes out of the kiln, you'll see why I like it so much. And like I also mentioned before, if you don't have a lot of chunks, do 3 coats because you need those chunks for Amaryllis to do its thing. If you don't have the chunks, it's just not going to be as pleasing to look at. As you go, just continue stirring your container, getting all those pieces up and moving around. And yeah, that is it. If you wanted, you could add an additional bit of pearl white to the rim to really pull it down. Because like I said, once you see what it does, you'll see what I mean by that. So if you want, put a little extra on the rim. But otherwise, it's as simple as that. It's a super simple combo. It's reliable, it's easy, and it's really beautiful. So let this dry, and then we'll put that in the kiln. Okay, so for the next combo, we're going to do soft white with Amaryllis. Now, you might think pearl white, soft white, what's the difference? There's a big difference. Pearl white is a little bit more translucent, and soft white is not. So when you put soft white on, it does something totally different. So we're going to do that. So you start with soft white, and then you put Amaryllis on top. Now I'm going to put this on a small vase. So I'm going to put Amaryllis on the inside and on top of the soft white. So that's why I'm going to start with the top soft white on the outside. Kind of no rhyme or reason. I'm just going to do kind of all over until I connect them. And then I'm just going to go to the top. And when you're glazing, just remember, don't have any drag. You don't have to be super thick with it, but just don't have drag. If you feel your brush is getting dry, you're already probably too light-handed. So I'm going to put it right on the rim, just like always. And then I'm going to go ahead, because Spectrum glazes dry so quick, I'm going to go ahead and put on my 2nd coat. So this outside is dry enough. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the outside. The inside is just going to be plain Amaryllis. So I'm not going to show you that. So what you want to do, I don't want to go all the way to the bottom. You go all the way to the bottom, you are asking for trouble. So I just go about 1/4 of an inch away from the bottom. So again, don't ever forget your rims because it'll look silly if your whole thing is glazed and you didn't get to the rim. So now with this combo, you want to be mindful of the fact that it is going to run. So I will put on a very thin second coat. As soon as this is dry, I will do a very thin second coat. You don't want to do any more than that unless you want it to drip right onto your shelf. I promise you, you do not. So this isn't quite dry, but it's dry enough to put a thin coat on. I'm only going to put this not even on the whole of this part either. I'm going to go about 1/4 of an inch up from that. I mean, if you go to the bottom, it's no big deal. Like the bottom of your amaryllis, it's no big deal. But if you want to really protect your shelves, just go a little bit above it. Again, super easy, super reliable, and it always turns out beautiful. Okay, so the next combo, I've done it on a trinket dish. I'll maybe put it in one of the corners so you can see which trinket dish I'm talking about. But I've never done it on anything other than a trinket dish. So I'm not entirely sure how it's going to really react. But for this one, you need amaryllis, obviously, lustrous jade, and you also need light flux. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. I didn't use light flux on the trinket dish, but I'm trying to go for almost like a watermelon effect, like a little abstract watermelon moment. I'm going to see if I can do it. But what I'm going to do is we're going to put amaryllis to this first bit here. Then we're going to do lustrous jade on top of that, and we're going to overlap it just a touch. And then we're going to take light flux and we're going to put it right where they meet. And I'm hoping that that kind of gives you the pink of the watermelon, the green of the watermelon rind, and then the white that separates the two of them kind of. So let's see if we can do that one. This one will be a surprise to me if it works out. So because we're doing the lustrous jade on top of the amaryllis, we're going to do the amaryllis first. And we're going to do 3 coats. And like I said, we're just going to go right to this top of this first bubble. Okay, so I'm just going to go straight ahead. It's drying pretty quick. By the time I stir everything up, I'll just go right into the second coat. Okay, so before I put the third coat on, I am going to let this dry really good. So as soon as this is dry, I'll come back and I'll put the third coat on. And like always, these brushes, they will be linked in the description below if you want to check them out. I use them all the time. I think they're great. They are budget brushes. They aren't expensive, but they definitely do the job if you need an inexpensive option. These are 3 coats. Now I'm going to let this dry and then we will put our lustrous jade on. Okay, so the amaryllis is dry enough that I can just barely touch it. So I already did the inside of this cup and I just did it all in lustrous jade. So that part's done. I did 3 coats on there. So now we're just going to go ahead and do the outside. So again, we're going to do 3 coats. I find lustrous jade, you really need to be a little bit heavier handed. Otherwise, it gets really patchy if you aren't a little bit heavier handed than you think you need to be. But yeah, so we're just going to go and I'm just going to do a little overlap, not a lot, like probably 1/4 of an inch. We're going to go all the way around. Okay, and don't forget your rim. And then the first two coats, they dry fairly quick. So I'm going to go ahead right into the second coat and then let it dry. And then I will put on a third coat and I'll be back. Again, like I said, with lustrous jade, you want to make sure that it is on quite thick because it likes a thicker coat rather than a thinner coat. Okay, so then we're going to let that dry completely. And then we're going to come back and I'll show you the very last step, which is the light flux. The last step for this one is light flux. Now, like I said, I've never done this combo before, so I don't know how this is going to work, but anytime I've used light flux, it always tends to be white, which is what I want. So I want the movement and I want the white. So I'm hoping that it works out. So what I'm going to do is right where these meet is where I'm going to put it, like right in between where they meet. And I'm going to put it on decently thick, but I'm only going to do the one coat. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. And that's the last step. Now I want to let this dry completely and then it will go in the kiln with everything else. Okay, so our Amaryllis combos are done. We cooked them, or I fired them. I call my kiln Cal the cooker. Anyway, so we fired them to 5.5. And yeah, so I already took most of what is out on this shelf because it's for a different video. So I will show you what's left for our combos on here and let's take them out. So this little dish is Amaryllis and Spanish moss, and it's really pretty. So Spanish moss, it looks nice. It's almost got like a little orange in it. And I'm not how I feel about that, but because I really like this color, but I don't know about the orange. But yeah, it turned out really pretty. It turned the pink almost like a little bit of a purple color. But yeah, really pretty. Ooh, I like this. So this is floating turquoise with amaryllis. And it's really pretty too. It just kind of changed the color of the amaryllis, and then you get all the different textures in here with the speckles that it has. It's really pretty. And floating turquoise is a really pretty blue too. Okay, so let's open the next shelf. Okay, so I'm gonna need some gloves, I think, because these are gonna be hot. Nothing ran like I thought it would. Okay, so first one we're gonna look at is the amaryllis and soft white. Look at that drip. Okay, so this was soft white, 2 coats, and then 2 coats of amaryllis on top. And look what the soft white does. So amaryllis is on the inside. So you see it's that deep pink or light pink. And then look what the soft white does to it. It's just so beautiful. It's very subtle, but it's beautiful. And look at the drip. I love drips. But yeah, so that's super pretty. I think it looks like there's bumps on camera, but there isn't. It's flawless. I'm just going to put it back in here because it's a little bit warm. Oh no. Okay. So we had our first disaster. So, shoot. So this is amaryllis with pearl white on the top. And it's stuck to my kiln shelves. I probably should have done one less on top. No, this is Flux Blossom. Look at that. Okay, so I've never had this happen before. So this is actually Flux Blossom, not the Pearl White. Very interesting. Okay, so this is Flux Blossom with Amaryllis. I've never had this happen before where it ran like this, like not even a little bit. So unfortunately, this is a no-go because it did that. Um, but it usually doesn't run like this, I promise. I'm not sure why it did that. That's crazy. Let's see what the other one looks like. Oh gosh. So this one ran a little bit, but nothing like the first one. I don't know why. I'm very confused as to why it ran this much. So much for a tried and true, because this is not how they worked out before. This one I can totally save. I just have to do a little bit of sanding on the very bottom. Um, but yeah, it still is beautiful, but it ran like crazy. And possibly because I did it on the bottom shelf. The bottom of my kiln is a lot hotter. So it may have been that. Also, it could be because I had so many of the crystals from the bottom of the bucket of Amaryllis, which is too bad because look how pretty that is. It's just too bad that it's a dud now. Oh well, it's okay. It happens. That's part of pottery. Perfect. So this is Amaryllis and Pearl White. And as you can see, it's beautiful. This will be what you get if you're not totally even. It's still perfectly fine to use. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, so this is Amaryllis with Pearl White. It's gorgeous combo. This is the second one where it's match. I mean, two of each. Yeah, beautiful. Those turned out, that is a tried and true. It turns out the best each and every time I make it, along with this one, the soft white and the Amaryllis. Oh, perfect. Okay, so this is the one that I wanted to do like a watermelon, and it came out perfect, exactly like a watermelon. Look at that. I'm so excited. I think this is super cute. I'm so happy with how that turned out. And again, lustrous jade on the inside. Like I mentioned before, you need lots of coats of lustrous jade for it to look um, not patchy. But oh gosh, I'm so excited with that. Perfect. The other one that's in there, can't show you that. It's for a different video. So you have to stay tuned for that. Um, but anyway, I think that was a really good glaze along. Yeah, there was a total dud in there, and I was not expecting that. But that is pottery. That's sometimes things turn out and sometimes they don't. And I did mention about how many crystals there were on the bottom, which is what I think happened because these ones, they got the same amount of coats. If anything, they got more coats than the Flux Blossom ones did. Um, but yeah, I'm still happy with how they turned out. I'm sorry that it didn't show up like it's supposed to. I will add a picture of what it usually looks like because I've done it multiple times before and it always turns out well. So I will attach a picture of what it should look like right here. So that's what it should look like. But unfortunately this time it didn't, and it now ruined my kiln shelf. So I will have to do some maintenance on that, unfortunately. But it is what it is. No big deal. I will deal with that. And yeah, anyway, if you liked my glaze along, please let me know in the comments down below. If there's some colors that you'd like me to try, again, put them in the comments. Let me know. I'll put my firing schedule in the description. I will also link any tools and stuff that I use. They're in the description. And yeah, if you guys like my content, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.